Yeah, it says analysis paralysis. Okay, analysis paralysis about what? What we're looking at is the evaluation of your audience. And there is all sorts of stuff written about the information you should gather about the audience you're going to be speaking to. So first of all, how many people are attending? Okay, this is a good question to ask. How many people usually come to these kinds of events? Are they knowledgeable about my subject? Well, let's say I'm going to be talking to them about penguins. I'm going to think that most people are not going to be knowledgeable about penguins. They might come to the event because they really have a lot to share about penguins, and we'll get to that later, or they know absolutely nothing about penguins, but they're really interested, or they have nothing else to do that night. And there's this whole group of people that are in attendance. Now, how can I possibly gather the information about each and every one of them about how knowledgeable they are about penguins? I'm just going to assume if they show up, it's because they have an interest in penguins, and that's enough for me. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't be asking questions about the audience. Of course you want to know who you're going to be dealing with. But take this with a grain of salt. You're not doing a PhD thesis here on audience analysis. Now let me give you an idea of the kind of questions I like to ask. Well, I do like to know how many people are attending. Why? Because frequently I bring along some kind of a handout. I want to make sure I have enough. If the meeting host says, we normally get about 20 to 30 people, so maybe I'll bring along 50. But what if I don't have enough? What if there are 60 people in the community that are really hot on getting information about penguins? I don't know. But if there are, I've found that usually the people that are hosting the event will be happy to help you get the additional 10, 20 copies, whatever it is. And if they don't have the capability, then you get to say, I'd be happy to email you a copy. If you give me your email address, if that's inconvenient, I'll post it on my website as soon as I get back to the studio, and you can come and visit and download it at your convenience. I want to know, is the topic of my presentation in some way going to tie into an event in the community or a potential conflict that's going on in the community? I mean, I could either be walking into a celebration or a hornet's nest of emotions. I'd certainly like to be prepared, and knowing that, and I can certainly get that either from the meeting planner or the host, or I can go online and use Google and go to the community and find out what's going on and maybe a little bit about the history and be prepared for whatever is brought to the meeting. Generally, I'm not really concerned about the demographics because the audiences that I've addressed most of the time, if they're not narrowly defined within a corporation, within a company, the audience is generally a cross-section of America. Men and women and young and middle-aged and older and physically fit and not so physically fit. You know what I mean? Lots of ethnicities, different religions, I assume. I don't know. I don't question that. So all of that is sitting out there. And it's sitting out there if you have 5 people, and it's sitting out there if you have 50 or 500 people. So go in with the attitude that you're talking to everybody, and you'll do just fine. The people that show up at my penguin speech that really are penguin professionals, known as PPs. If the PPs show up, you got to deal with them a special way. These folks might, in fact, maybe for sure, know more about penguins than you do. Now what are you going to do? And they're going to try to ask you questions. You may have a question and answer period at the end. I'm going to suggest defer to them. Don't get into an argument. Don't get into a confrontation. If you're asked specific questions that you just don't have the faintest idea, from all the research you've done into penguins, you just can't answer these questions, that's okay. If they have an answer, encourage them to contribute. If they don't, and you don't, volunteer to get in touch with them with the answer. Tell the audience that you're interested in this too. I would like to know the answer about that. That's a really terrific question. I'll look into that and I'll post that on my website. You're a nice person. You get them to visit your website, and you keep the emotions in the meeting at a nice, pleasant level. You never want to get into a confrontation with anybody in the audience, even if the person is really annoying, obnoxious, confrontive. Chances are you become diminished when you get into an altercation with that person over who's right. Don't go there. This is what I'd like you to take away from this show. Yes, you want to know something about your audience. No, I don't think you have to go into the detailed demographic studies for most of the audiences you address. If you make presentations and speak about highly technical issues, you already know who's sitting in the audience because they're expecting you to come and deliver certain kinds of information. So relax about the demographics. If you're doing general presentations about environment or volunteer activities or whatever it is about adopting animals, figure that a cross-section of your community or a cross-section of the community that you're in that particular day is sitting there. A little bit of everybody, and you'll do just fine. And separate the idea of venue, what does the place look like, from audience, the people that are sitting in the place. Separate those, ask different questions of the host or the meeting planner, and you'll be prepared when you walk in the door. Have a good time. Enjoy your speaking. Thanks for visiting, and I'll see you next time.